In effetti non ha gran bisogno di presentazioni perché è abbastanza famosa. Per chi non si ricordasse perfettamente la storia di Nadia Tolokonnikova e le Pussy Riot, io lascerei un'introduzione brevissima a un video. E dopodiché prende la parola Nadia Tolokonnikova.
Вы не считаете, что группа Pussy Riot?
Riot. Не бойтесь этого слова.
Riot.
Как боятся российские власти этого слова. Его не нужно бояться.
А как переводится?
Бунт.
Живи на красной! Покажи свободу! Гражданской злости!
Восстание. Масс угнетенных.
Cage me in and cage me out. Refugees in, Nazis out. Government here should feel the shame. Fucking liars, you are to blame.
Те, кто не согласен с политикой,
We are glad to announce billionaire and everybody's favorite, Donald Trump, has won. No more Muslims.
We better be careful.
No more Mexicans.
We're going to stop it and we're going to build a wall.
No more gay or lesbian.
How do you picture the perfect leader? How do you want him to be?
Trump will make America great again.
And killing families. Did your mama come from Mexico? Papa come from Palestine? Sneaking all through Syria, crossing all the borderlines. Let other people in. Listen to your women. Stop killing black children. Make America great.
A Trump News Network special report.
We are glad to announce billionaire and everybody's favorite, Donald Trump, has won the presidential elections.
We are going to make America so great again.
Donald Trump made his first visit to Washington.
People have been maced, and the police look like they're blocking them in.
No more Muslims.
These are people that nobody knows who they are. We better be careful.
No more Mexicans.
We're going to stop it and we're going to build a wall.
You have to come in to be an American.
They're troublemakers. They're no good. We've got to take our country back, folks.
You know our job? No. Tell us, bitch, yeah, that's right. Speak American.
Fucking neck.
What is this? Look at this. Russian fucking passport. Sign American.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, man.
What are you doing here?
You're gonna understand.
In
Break your
America.
fucking neck. You're gonna understand. Put your hand down.
Hello. I want to start with a quote from Putin's favorite philosopher. His name is Ivan Ilyin. So the quote is, "Fascism was right, since it sprung from healthy national patriotic feelings, in whose absence no nation can either affirm its existence or create its own culture." I showed up at a local newspaper's office with my piece on pollution and climate change. I was 14 years old. What they told me is that I am a really nice girl, and besides, I'm not a bad writer at all. But why did I write rather about the local zoo? My piece on catastrophic pollution in my hometown wasn't published. Well, many things have happened in my life after, including my arrest and 2 years in jail, but nothing has seriously changed in my life since then. I keep asking uncozy questions. I was born a few days before the fall of Berlin Wall. They thought at the time that after elimination of socialism and capitalism contradiction, we are going to live in peace. What we've seen, in fact, is rise of inequality, empowerment of oligarchs here and there, threats to public education and healthcare, plus serious environmental crisis. And all of that caused radical distrust in mainstream politics. These dissatisfactions are being used by right-wing, nativist, opportunist, corrupted, cynical political players. The same ones who helped create all this now offer us a salvation. They offer us nativism and more privileges for the privileged as a solution. That's how we got Trump, Brexit, Le Pen, Orban. Putin is playing in these games too. He plays on the complex of rage, pain, impoverishment of Russian people that had been caused by shock economy, Machiavellian privatization, and deregulation that happened in the 90s. If nationalist aggression, closed borders, and exceptionalism really worked, North Korea would be the most prosperous country on earth. Looking back at the 20th century, I find nationalism and exceptionalism really, really creepy. After the collapse of Soviet Union, we bought the myth of end of history. In doing so, we lowered our defenses, constrained our imagination, and opened the way for precisely the kinds of regimes we told ourselves could never return. History of the 20th century shows us that societies can break, democracies can fall, ethics can collapse. We are no wiser than those who saw democracy yield to fascism, Nazism, or Stalinism. Our own advantage, only one advantage actually, that we might learn from their experience. As a citizen of the world, I don't care about borders, but borders do seem to care about me. Where I'm from the most polluted city on earth. I'm from Milky Way, I'm from Russian literature, and I'm from Japanese theater. I'm from every city where I fight it, where I fucked somebody. I'm from jail, and I'm from the White House. I'm from punk records, and I'm from Bach inventions. From my obsession to turquoise, coffee, and loud music. I despise all kinds of limitations. Sex, nationality, race, color of my hairs, color of my nails, timbre of my voice, the way how I brush my teeth. What more? I do believe that we live in a global world, but it's not neoliberal version of global world where I live. I would rather see the global world of solidarity and care of each other. I don't support the globality of greed. I don't support globality of finding a scapegoat or a witch to burn at the stake. I know what I'm talking about because I was that witch at the time when our trial was going on. There is no promised land until you build it with your own hands. I say to myself, engage in politics or suck Putin's and Trump's dicks. There is an eternal opposition between courageous community who speaks truth to power and metropolis, who abuse power for personal benefits. I know that there is a power in intersectional and international union of those who care about people more than they do care about money. Thank you. And should we watch Straight Out of Vagina?
Video.
Some of you may become somewhat uncomfortable as parts of this film unfold.
If you listen carefully, you will agree that the concepts will contribute to the rearing of a mature person who has a healthy, responsible attitude toward the sexual side of his life.
Nadia. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I know it's your first time in Italy.
It's my pleasure. I'm so excited to be in Italy finally.
So I'd ask you some question about, we have 15 minutes. So I want to start from the last video. It's one of your Pussy Riot main arguments. I mean, feminism. Do you think in 2017, feminism, there's still need to talk about feminism?
I was walking around the city yesterday for hours, and it struck me that I see this model with big boobs everywhere, and I was like, and I just came from America, and I would say that I think American feminists, they didn't achieve putting a woman in the office as president, but what they achieved, that I kind of see that many naked ladies on streets or in Scandinavian countries, but it was really striking for me, like, to have everywhere these ladies with boobs. And because she's showing to young girls how you're supposed to look like, so then they start to just go through all these surgeries in order to look like her. And I think there are some issues, even when you look around, you don't have to go far. You don't have to go far to Putin or to Trump. Just look around, and yeah, there are a lot of issues which we still need to overcome.
So,
and by the way, there are a lot of these ladies with big boobs in advertisement in Russia. So we do fight against that.
Okay. Let's return to the beginning. It's not the beginning of Pussy Riot, but the beginning of your as a famous all over the world. I mean that February of 2012, when you got arrested after the performance in the Cathedral of Moscow.
Yeah.
Did you imagine all the consequences of that song? Because it was a usual video of your usual songs in that period.
Yeah, right.
I mean, did you imagine what happened later?
You know, as an activist in Russia, you always have this thought in your mind that you can end up in prison eventually, but you never know why it will happen. Because it could be whatever. You could write a post on your social network and you could end up in prison because of that. You don't even have to go somewhere from your house. You don't even have to leave the house in order to get a criminal case against you. So you just do what you feel right to do, and you don't care that much about consequences.
Okay, but the consequences were pretty hard. You spent 21 months in prison. In Monrovia, also, it wasn't a light prison. I mean, did you take something good from this experience? I mean,
yeah, surely, I did. I was just writing the other day about that, because right now I'm writing my book. It's not about just my experience, because I don't want to focus on myself too much, but it's more, I'm trying to inspire other activists. And so what I was trying to write in this book, that even if you end up in really difficult, challenging situation, in the result of your activism, it shouldn't scare you. Because in my case, prison definitely made me stronger. It definitely made my conviction bolder. And it helped me to connect more with Russian people. Because I've seen people from all circles when I was in prison. Because, you know, as an activist in Moscow, you still live in the bubble. You live in your anarchist, anti-fascist bubble, but it's still a bubble. And you speak just with those people who already agreed with your values. And it was the first time when I found myself in the field with people who probably voted for Putin. And I started to speak with them, and I found out that after 1 week, or in certain cases after 2 months, they change their minds because they just need to have information on what's going on in the system, really. And you start to talk with them. Like, look at your grandmother. She worked all her life, and what does she have right now? And do you really want to have this president as a head of your country? And you know, step by step, it's changing. But we need to provide people alternative information. And so that's why we founded and we're funding this media outlet, which is called Media Zona, which became in 2 years. We got out of prison and we started this media outlet. Completely independent voice, no censorship at all. And it became a really important voice in modern Russia. And I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I explained Media Zona is a kind of news agency, right? And it's against the propaganda and fake news. I mean,
yeah.
How do you fight the fake news in Russia, also in many other countries, of course? Simply declaring your signature, your firm, or I mean, just your name is the guarantee of the truth, or no?
Not really. I mean, you need to build a trust. People will not trust you just right away just because of your name or whatever. But when we have 20 journalists. It's not a joke what we created. It's 20 journalists, and the whole company is providing day-to-day news and online reports on the most important political issues in modern Russia. And you know, when big government media agencies start to quote us because they do believe that we provide real facts, it's win. Like, we feel like, oh yeah, like these guys, they work for Putin, but they don't believe in their own propaganda anymore, so they have to quote us.
Speaking of articles, you wrote an article for us, and later another one for Huffington Post, in which you say pretty much the same thing, that Putin and Trump are pretty much the same. They are heroes of our time because they can feed the fear of people and the lack of security in this particular moment. How can we fight this now? How can you fight this better? And
I think we need to provide alternatives. What we are trying to do in Russia and what Bernie Sanders and his supporters is trying to do in America, and a lot of political movements and parties all around the world, they're trying to provide alternative to the right-wing populist agenda. Because there is a dissatisfaction, and I could see the reason why this dissatisfaction appear, because we try to measure all our human values and all our human emotions by money, and we do live in market fundamentalism right now, and it's not really healthy for a human being. So if we'll find this way to show people how institutions could work in an alternative way, I think we will win.
Okay. And don't you think that, especially your first video, Make America Great Again, you imagine a near future with violence, all the words of Trump against immigration and LGBT, and you imagine a black future with many consequences. Don't you think America has the organs strong enough, democracy, to fight themselves this fear, and or do you really think that can happen the same as in Russia many years ago when Putin was nobody, and the people who thought to control him lost the control?
Yeah, I think an erosion of institutions is a really big thing. So you may have court, and it's called a court, but it's not really. And you have a lot of things which used to have some power, like courts and unions, and it lost completely its power in Russia, and that's what's happening right now in America too. Because in order to go to court, you need to hire really expensive lawyer. So who can go to court to fight against the corporation? Just wealthy people. So in the end of the story, we have more privileges for privileged, and we have two different systems for people who have money and for people who don't have money. And it's so striking to me, because it's exactly the same thing that we do have right now in Russia. And I think, in fact, differences between so-called free world and unfree world, they are much less than we used to think about them. Because this worldview, particularly American worldview, I think, that, we do live in democracy and nothing bad could happen with us. Yeah, but look back, erosion of institutions have happened. And as I told before, let's just go back less than 100 years ago. The way how Hitler came to power. He came to power through democratic institutions, and then he completely destroyed them. So it kind of happened.
So in our article, you said the only thing that people can do is dreaming, is return to dreaming again.
Dream and fight for your dream, not just dream, but just think about alternative futures. Thank you. Because I think at the point when people were like, oh yeah, we don't have a contradiction between socialism and capitalism, so we can just live in what we have right now. But now you need to dream, you need to imagine alternative futures, you need to ask yourself a question: what will happen in 50 years, what will happen in 100 years, how my planet will look like, how my planet will look like when my kid will grow up and when she will be old. Like, if we will still have the same planet as we do have right now, because it's real. Environmental changes are real, pollution is real, and I'm from the most polluted city on Earth, so I know what I'm talking about. So we need to start to act right now in order to have some changes in 50 years.
One of the last questions. Now, what are now Pussy Riots? I mean, you had the masks, now you take off the mask and you are Nadia and Masha, and they are still reason to exist, and when eventually their mission will be finished?
I'm not the one who defines when it will be finished, because I'm a founder, but that's pretty much it. So it lives its own life, and I meet people all around the world who call themselves Pussy Riot, and I never met them before, but I love them already, and I'm so thankful for them, because they're taking part in this movement. Because it was created as a movement, it never was a group or band with a stable core, with a committee, who is part of Pussy Riot and who is not. Anybody could be Pussy Riot. And masks, I mean, I do wear masks sometimes, but you know, it's hot. It's hot, so I can't wear it all the time.
And so, I mean, the last question, I suppose. What's your future plans? I mean, you have many activities in the US, since you, also in Russia. You split between Russia and the US, actually, your life. I mean, your daughter is in Russia, so
I would say I travel sometimes in the US, but I don't live there, as I don't live here. But I do travel a lot, it's true, because I'm trying to build an international network.
You said that 10 years of music school doesn't make you a musician.
Yeah.
You are pretty much an activist. So you think in your future there is more music or more activism?
It is the same for me. I don't see a reason why I should separate politics and art, because the biggest influence in my life is avant-garde. And if you'll take look back in the beginning of 20th century, all those people, they wanted to change not just art field, but they wanted to change social and cultural field too. And I think I'm following their tradition. Because I think Malevich black square should be a symbol of Russia, not Putin.
So somebody was want to join you want to join Pussy Riot. What kind of express himself or herself? What kind of art is better? You said that symbolism, or I don't remember the.
Whatever.
The kind of art is the simplest way to express themselves, because you are free to do what you want and in the way you want.
Yeah, I think the ideal art for me, and the art which is done by kids, because when I look at their things which are done by my daughter, it's usually super simple, and she's not thinking, and it's clear. It's clear. I couldn't understand what she tried to say. She's not overthinking, and she doesn't care about her ego that much as a lot of artists who are grown-ups and they care about money, status, or their careers. And when you're a kid, you just want to express your ideas, and I think we need to go back a little bit more childish in this way and dream more. But when I'm saying, yeah, I want to be a kid, it doesn't mean that you have to be infantile or that you don't have any responsibility. You do, but you just free your imagination and you try to be as clear as possible, as kids can do. Because I love kids. You know, kids started a revolution in Russia. So it was just like we had big protests in Russia. And people who came to these protests, there were kids from school, like 13, 14 years old kids. And when they were asked, like, oh, what do you want? Their answer was so simple but so true. They were like, we want justice. And then school teacher was like, oh, what is justice anyway? And they were like, it's something that we don't have right now, and we want it. I adore them. It's so clear.
So thank you, Nadia.
Thank you.